Hello, everybody. Welcome to our special edition of What's Up Wrestling. Scott Fishman from TV Insider and PWI and everywhere else Wrestling Inc. is here with me. We just watched a 4-hour AEW All In London 2024 pay-per-view. We're here to talk about it and give you our reactions and talk about what happened. I thought it was actually a great pay-per-view. I actually was pretty impressed. And just off the top, before we grade it and get into all that, I would just want to say I thought that for the first time, I felt like they actually told good stories within the matches pretty well. Sometimes I don't feel they did that. But we'll get into the matches. Scott, what's your overall sense of that's my initial reaction to say to you?
I think if you are someone new to AEW and we're tuning in just for, because you're interested because of the Bryan Danielson story or for whatever reason, I think you got your money's worth. And I think if you're a diehard AEW fan, you got your money's worth. I think overall you got your money's worth. I mean, that's one thing AEW does is deliver on pay-per-view. So, and then on the big stage, I mean, I think they did such a great job with on the production side,
was
especially
wonderful.
when you talk about the storytelling.
Wonderful.
I will get into it, but the camera angles and everything. But
yes,
awesome.
yes, Scott. I couldn't wait to talk to you. I was like, oh, I hope Scott loves this because we enjoy the same thing most of the time. And my thought the whole time was they upped the production. I thought some of it was great. It felt like we were watching a big, important, event. So they really stepped it up. That's what I thought. Well, let's get into it. There were so many interesting things that happened, but I do want to comment. You and I, for sure, we had Jamie Hayter coming in with Britt Baker, but Jamie Hayter actually appeared at 0 hour, and I'm like, is she going to come back later? But that was actually a great thing with Saraya and Jamie, who looked great. What did you think of that? That we never predicted. We never had.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when Saraya came out and you saw her family coming out, and you knew something was up. Because it wasn't announced, it wasn't on the all the things that were supposed to happen, but they want to give Saraya moments and sweet Saraya moment, which was awesome. And then Jamie's music hits and the whole place explodes. And because it's so early in the show, everyone's hyped up on the show, so you're getting that maximum reaction. And that just gives such big star vibes. She was already very popular, but to have it happen there where she couldn't wrestle, she was out. She wasn't able. She could have wrestled in her home, area, and she wasn't able to. And now she has this moment, and she's not wrestling on the show, but just having that return, I think that was a great thing, and it kind of set the stage for what we were going to see, as the show has gone on and the ebbs and flows of the show. But one thing on social media I just thought was just so. I mean, it's funny because it's social media, but I was like, that is so wrong. Is like, they're like, oh, Becky Lynch is all elite. And, because of Jamie's hair and the look. And so, and everyone's like hinting that she was going to be there. And I don't know what's going on, but
I never
like,
had.
don't let that take away the moment. This is
Jamie
Jamie's
Hayter.
awesome. Yeah. And she has an all-timer, entrance music too, which I love. But I just thought that was just disrespectful.
Yeah, because they were like, the greatest. I didn't like that. I saw that too. I'm like, they're thinking they're doing a Becky thing. And I do want to say,
cute, yeah.
London, I love you, but the crowd was a little odd at times. Like they were rooting for Big Bill. There was the FCM Punk chants during and I get it. I get like there were things going on through it where I'm like, who are they rooting for? Like some of their, you know what I mean? Like it seemed a little.
Well, it is the UK. You never know what you're going to get with them, but for the most part, they were
great,
who they wanted. I guess who they wanted them to cheer for and reacting the way they wanted. And I think at first I was with you when it came to the CM Punk chant, the FCM Punk chant, but they're the ones that brought it back. AEW brought it back to mind. They brought that on themselves in a sense because the broken glass, the callback to the last year. So I think in that sense, the CM Punk chant earlier in the show, I'll be like, okay, I agree with you. I'm like, let's let this go, move on. But they're putting it back on people's minds with Jack Perry, and they got the FCM Punk reaction, which I'm sure that's something they want to happen actually in a sense.
They wanted that to happen in a way.
Yeah, and then they had the AEW chant right after it. So in that sense, I think I was okay with it. But then earlier in the show, when you got the chant, that's totally different to me.
Well, because people were saying they were trying to cover it up in the announcing, like they're saying all sorts of chants.
That's always funny. Yeah, that's always funny when they
like,
try to do
there's
that.
all sorts of different things out there. I thought that was really funny. All right,
Yeah.
so going through this, I guess the best way is to just start with the Trios Championship with Pac, Wheeler Yuta, Claudio Castagnoli winning the Trios Championship over the other teams. What is your thought on that?
Did we even predict that match? I feel like we didn't even know that was on the card, to be honest.
We knew it was on the card, but I just figured it was not as an important thing.
Oh, okay.
But then I'm like, well, wait a minute. Like the Christian Cage thing made sense.
Yeah. Mrs. Wayne, though, she's going above and beyond with going up on heels. She had a busy day. She had a busy night or day, wherever you are.
Mrs. Wayne, Mama Wayne. The spray.
Oh, yeah, the spray to the face. Yeah. I mean, it was nice to see. I think a Claudio swing though in Wembley is that's always like a fun. It kind of gets an extra oomph, you'd say, when you kind of see it. And the other thing, how badass though did the House of Black look when they were coming out? One thing I did appreciate, and actually, Tony Khan actually liked the tweet that I sent. Because I don't know, but that I appreciated that they had the entrance for that match like on the pre-show, because that was like 10 minutes or a little over 10 minutes.
15-minute entrance.
Yeah. And I thought that was a smart move because it got people excited and it gave you a sense of what we were going to see as far as presentation. But I was kidding around that it was like the length of an Undertaker or a Roman Reigns entrance. But it was cool. Pac having that great moment. He's been in and out of AEW. He hasn't really kind of had a chance to really build,
to stick. Yeah.
So I'm hoping that this kind of leads to that. You could see the crowd really loves him and really getting into that moment. And then Wheeler having, he's had his own, problems coming back from injury, and Claudio, always delivers. So it was a nice moment for them to kind of have that happen.
I was just going to say though, with Moxley not being there, so are we to assume Pac is part of BC Blackpool Combat Club then, or is he his own man?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can see them trying to like recruit him, but him being like on his own. I mean, he's a man with an island of himself when you think about it right now, because there's talk of where's Penta gonna go, where's Phoenix gonna go. Death Triangle would be no more in that sense. So putting him with another group, it is a perfect mix, though. Putting him in that group, it's kind of a natural progression. But at this point, maybe he doesn't really need, like, it's more of him like a means to an end and being in this group because, okay, now we're the champions. But I don't know if he needs to officially be in the group. I think it just fits better where he's like this outsider looking in. They're trying to have some fun. And he's like the serious guy. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Timeless Toni Storm, Mariah May in the match. First of all, I was flabbergasted that she smacked her mother in the face. That the mother was in on the slot. Like, that was all pretty great. And then how it went down. We did predict Mariah May, did we not?
Yep, we did.
And did it live up to? I thought it was pretty great, but did it live up to what you thought, or were you in any way disappointed?
No, I mean that was cinema, as they said. We predicted cinema, and that's exactly what we got. Right from the like we were talking about the entrances earlier on, and Tony's the entrance right at the beginning, the little vignettes that they did with a lot of the wrestlers that night. I thought that was really nice. Chef's kiss with that.
I just interrupt you and say, I don't mean to interrupt, but the funniest thing is still Toni Storm 1924. Like, it's such a throwback to Wendy Richter, like this whole kind of, the throwback to all the older, original lady wrestler. I just loved that. I died. I was like, thought that was so funny. And then
Wendy Richter, though, is 80s wrestler, though.
I know.
And I was like 1924. I'm like,
I know.
You're going a little too far back.
I know. But I think
I don't want us to get attacked on here, so I just wanted to make that.
I'm not saying Wendy Richter's from 1924. The whole thing was funny, was clever, is all I meant.
Yes, for sure. And just the story that they told, they went really all in with it, like, all in with it, because Mariah just amazing. Like, as a character, she's really embraced this character and the story. And Toni, you could tell a lot of time and efforts been putting into this, not only from the backstage, but in front of the camera and the production, the story, the writing, everything about it. Everyone had a hand in making this a success. But the two women in the ring are the ones that pulled it off as far as in front of the camera. And so amazing, like one of the best, I think, it is one of the best stories in AEW history, but also from a women's wrestling standpoint, I think from being invested in everything like that, it's right up there with what Britt Baker was able to do with Thunder Rosa, and maybe even ahead of that. I mean, but the milestone, of course, their match. But from a storyline, it's definitely one of my favorite matches that I've seen in a long time, just because of how invested I was, and they actually delivered in the ring with the little things. You talked about the stories within the matches. That's one. There was so much storytelling in that match right from the start.
So much story. Like, she wouldn't hit her with the shoe, like that. She went over to
general right at the beginning.
Toni went to hug the mother after the mother was slapped. I mean, there was, the whole All About Eve story playing out right before us, because that's what this was. It was all about Eve, and now the protege is the champ. It is,
and then
life away.
Like you were saying about the mom too. It's like, I loved it because it was like Toni created this monster, and she's almost feeling for the mother. Like, I'm so sorry. Look what I did to your daughter. And like, I was watching it, and then we're like, wait, did she slap Toni's mom? No, wait, she slapped her own mother. I was like, wow, if she's willing to do that, just shows you how far gone she is.
Yes. Yeah. And I loved that. I thought that was so great. It was like, she is so far gone. And the thing that I kept waiting. I said, Luther's going to be in on it, but I was wrong. I kept thinking, he's in on it. Even up to the very end. I was like, he's going to stab her in the back. But he wasn't.
But he played a good role, though. He was great. Another aspect of this that was tremendous. And a lot of times, you don't really need blood in every single match. And we got him, all throughout the night. But I think in this case, it kind of added to the aesthetic of what they're trying to create. Like black and white, Technicolor, all that. And just how heated the rivalry was. So in this one, I think it really added another layer of the drama. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Mariah makes of this title reign, and how they do with Toni Storm, because Toni's so aligned with the championship, and that was so part of her character, that now it's like, what's going to happen here?
I was going to ask you, do you think with All Out there will be a rematch right away? That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see unless they kind of want to have a really quick program real quick with someone else, and then that'll bring Toni in to the mix. But I mean, we are only 2 weeks. That's one of the things I'm like not a fan of, is like we're
so close.
Like WrestleMania, it's like when WrestleMania ends, like you don't want to have another show right after it. 2 weeks is still too short of time. 1 week, 2 weeks. I just think you want to let things breathe, celebrate what you did, make the most of these moments that you just created, but instead you're kind of like rushing into something else. And
I agree.
Kind of like that's where I gather it.
But
it has to be one more thing is if there is a rematch, that's the only thing. Like, there's no other story going on, so it's not like you're going to throw a match together. That's the only way you're going to have a match, if you throw a match together.
This was an example of great storytelling all the way through that I've talked about with you and others through the time, that AEW, what they hadn't gotten right is the build of the story, the build of the story in the ring, because the storytelling wasn't always connected. Sometimes it was disjointed. In this case, it was fully realized. And even in this pay-per-view, it was fully realized. And that's what WWE always was, had done best. However, the wrestling moves in this pay-per-view were just extraordinary. The wrestling in AEW is just extraordinary, some of these moves. So I just was happy to see that they really fully realized a lot of these in-ring stories throughout the night. But it was great. I thought it was great. And the funniest thing was how Timeless Toni Storm left the ring. She's like laughing, but not laughing, and like half out of it, and she's walking back. And they're like, what's going on with Toni?
Yeah.
Great. Hook versus Jericho. Well, first I was annoyed that we had to listen to Chris sing and Fozzy in the ring, but I know he's done that before. And then I couldn't once again tell from last night, if you watched Collision, they were definitely in for Bill. They loved Big Bill, and they did not like Hook. So now Hook is coming out, and Bill's there because it's you know, it's all anything goes in the match, and they were loving Big Bill. And I kept waiting. I said, I hope Taz, like we talked about, finally gets involved. Like, I hope he finally gets involved. So
yeah,
that
we
was
talked about it. Yeah.
Talked about it. I said, Scott is right. Like, yes, he's gonna do it. I was just hoping they would really do it, and he did. So what did you think of the match and the reactions to what was going on?
There are certain matches on this show that had to follow up some just incredible storytelling matches where you're invested. And this was one of the ones that had that because it was following up, right? Mariah and Toni, which was incredible. And I actually like Fozzy. I've actually been to a few Fozzy concerts, but yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I want to say, just so it's clear, I'm not knocking Fozzy. What I'm saying is we've seen Chris go to the ring and sing before. Like,
yeah. But I was going to say that it was hard for me to hear him sing too. Like, I don't know, it was just very loud. So I wouldn't, if I was never heard Fozzy before, like I wouldn't judge that on, I would still listen to Fozzy. But of course you've heard him a couple times with the other songs, but just the crazy though, that here's a guy who's performing his own song with his own band in his own match. Like, that does not happen. It's pretty incredible though.
It's incredible. Wow.
I mean, you can love or hate Chris Jericho all you want, but that's crazy that he's able to do that. Like, that's just crazy. In Wembley too. But, it wasn't one of my, oh my God, I have to see this match. Like, it was here nor there for me. And it was kind of crazy with
the kitchen and got something to drink.
Well, I'm not that crazy. I know there were some tweets about, I don't even know if that was true or not, all this massive people going to the bathroom during that match, but I thought it was entertaining for what it was. It was what it was. At first I thought the stuff in the ring were apples because I wasn't paying attention as much, but I was like, why are there apples in the ring? But they're like, yeah, but they were not.
Croquet balls.
Yeah, croquet balls. And I was like, I thought they were going to be apples because of, bad apple, but
tree.
Yeah, learning tree, all that. So I was like, oh wow, this is but it is what it is. The right person won. Hook needed to win this, and I loved having that Taz element, because how often has this been happening? Taz hasn't been able to do anything about it or done anything about it. He kind of was put over the top. Again, great storytelling there, putting him in, letting him have that moment, and he actually did a really good job with it too. Seeing him put his Taz mission on that, and with his son, what a cool moment.
And I wanted to say I loved the moment we finally got, because we had not seen, I don't remember seeing a father-son hug the whole time they've been here. They've kind of kept themselves separate from one another.
Yep.
And I totally get that. And they never really played like dad, son, but it was really nice to see. And I thought that was great. Okay. DL Hudson says, I had well, I love you, DL.
Multitasking.
You had my two favorite shows, Knots Landing and AEW.
What a great juxtaposition there.
That's the same thing. No, but that's so true. That's so true. I know. I've been following Knots on Plex too. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. I thought I was really glad Hook won. I was going to be unhappy if he didn't. The crowd was ambivalent. It seemed like they could have gone either way.
Yeah. But what we were saying with Big Bill, it's very similar to what was happening with Luchasaurus, where the crowd was really getting behind him, even though, the alliance with Christian. But, you see something there. Big Bill definitely has all the tools in the world, and he's learning really under Chris Jericho. So it'll be interesting to see, eventually when he breaks off, what that's going to mean for him and Jericho and all that. Because Jericho gets... Oh, go ahead.
Why do you think they loved him in London? Because his name is Big Bill?
No, I mean, I think they want to see him break out. It was the same thing with Wardlow and so many others, where if AEW doesn't listen to the crowd, it's not gonna it's gonna be too late, and you're not gonna be making stars. So if they wait too long, I think Big Bill has the potential of doing some big things. Because first they put him with God, drawing a blank now.
Starks.
Yeah, Ricky Starks. And then now they're putting him with Jericho. Like, he doesn't need to be put with anybody, in my opinion. Like, just build him up.
Is
Like
that
you
why
did
they
with Wardlow.
liked him, or did they like him because he was like a big guy, or his name was Big Bill, like Big Ben?
I mean, you'd have to ask them, but in my opinion,
what's going on.
Hey, if anybody there wants to chime in here on the chat, but I'm just saying that I think the potential is there for something with him, and they're not really utilizing it as much as they could be.
I agree. Okay, now we have the Young Bucks and the Acclaimed and FTR. This match was a little confusing to watch for me, because I was like, okay, wait. So the two like I thought everyone, like one member of each team would be in the ring, but there were two, and then they were like tagging other. Like I just thought it was a little hard to watch, but we were right. Did we not pick? We wanted the Acclaimed, but that didn't happen.
No,
but wait, last thing. Yeah. I loved the Sgt. Pepper thing. I thought that was brilliant. I loved the outfits. I loved the background. I loved the entrance.
No necklace though. Was there a pearl necklace? I don't think so.
That's out. Now we're back to. So I thought the Sgt. Pepper thing was very clever and looked cool. All right.
Yeah, I was almost like, I'm surprised I didn't get a pop. Big enough pop for that. But shows you how much the Young Bucks now are the villains of right now. But anytime they pay tribute to Bret Hart, though, I'm all for FTR. You talk about tributes. I appreciate the Bret Hart attire, as they are in Wembley Stadium, where Bret Hart and the British Bulldog famously fought at SummerSlam. So I love that callback. But yeah, from what you were saying, it's same thing. It was kind of confusing, following everything. I personally would have preferred just a traditional tag team match with whether it was the Acclaimed or FTR and the Young Bucks. Whatever. I would have went with the Acclaimed and the Young Bucks, because that was the story they've been building up. You didn't need to do that on Dynamite leading into it. I thought they could have just did it here, but that's here nor there. Yeah, I mean, I would have hoped the Acclaimed would have gotten a moment tonight or today, but it wasn't to be. So as I was thinking, it was like, they want to build up this group with, we'll talk about Jack Perry later on, but you have Jack Perry and the Young Bucks, and I guess that's kind of like what they're kind of going to keep building up is this group, even though Okada didn't win, but
the Elite. Yeah. Yeah, it was disappointing. I wanted the Acclaimed. I don't know where this really leads us. But a lot of people were picking Young Bucks to retain the titles in this. And
I think, well, we'll talk about with the Jack Perry, but I have a theory where this is going to go with the Young Bucks.
Okay. So yes, a little bit confusing. I'll say that. Love Sgt. Pepper's. Okay. So now we got to talk about the Casino Gauntlet match. I was like, first of all, it was what I thought was interesting that was not clear to me until this. The winner it's kind of like Money in the Bank. They were like, the winner can cash in at it was like, if you win this, you can have a match at any time. But that was never said. I don't remember before. Did you know that?
They did. Yeah, they did make that known. But for me, a gauntlet, I thought it was going to be like elimination, sort of.
See, I think it was not clear to the viewers.
The rule. It's funny because before they used to always like make the rules, like they put it on a screen and they would lay it out for everyone. Yeah. But they didn't do it this time. So
no. There you go. I thought they had amazing competitors in the match, which was great. I love that Heyman went in and went ballistic. So I was thinking, well, he has to potentially, win this. That was my initial thought, I think, of the other night. And then we got Ricochet, and we got Ricochet as Ricochet. Remember, you were like,
he owns the name and everything. So, yeah.
Were you happy to see him?
Yes, but at the same time, it was kind of like thrown in there, and he got that big reaction. I don't think it was like made bigger. Like, it was a big deal. Obviously, don't get me wrong, the fans loved it. The surprise is there. You can only do that one time though with someone. And I don't know, because the way things panned out with Christian winning the match, I just thought that was kind of a weird positioning to me. Like, if you're going to have Ricochet in the match, you're going to have Ricochet win the match or be close to winning the match. And I think he was just kind of thrown to the wayside a little bit. What did you think?
I thought it was just, here we are. We've got Ricochet. It's a pop. Here he is. We're going to throw him in here.
Same thing.
I get that aspect. I get your like, oh my God moment. It is Ricochet. Even though everyone knew he was coming, it's like, it is true. Here he is. So I thought that was great. It was great to see him. Wasn't he wearing AEW colors, they were saying, in his pants? Or wasn't that like one of the things? So that was,
but you could also say NXT too, black and gold.
black colored NXT. And then I thought to have Christian win was kind of when you had all those people in it. But then I was like, that's what bugged me. I'm like, so he's getting a shot at the title?
Same.
So they're putting Christian with Danielson? Like, we'll go into that in a minute. But I was kind of like, that was weird. And then I was like, oh, great. We're finally going to see Luchasaurus or Killswitch turn on him.
I think that's definitely coming, but I agree with you. Like, this was a moment. This was a match that you could have really helped make someone. You could have done so many different scenarios. You had all this talent in the ring. Even Okada, like,
I was like
you had like, you spent all this money on this guy. Again, we talked about this last week. You spent all this money on Okada, but it seems like he's not been put in like big match situations. Like, we had some cool moments. Like, don't get me wrong, we had the Zack Sabre Jr. and all these other great. But
I just say I love him. He is so good. He's so great. Like, I would have been happy for him to win. In the UK, he's such a great wrestler. Really,
sorry. The Nigel coming back after 13 years, like, and he looked in great shape. Him winning would have been awesome because it leads to Danielson, Bryan Danielson, Nigel McGuinness. That's the match everybody's kind of talking about because now Nigel has wrestled. He's had his moment. Bryan Danielson's the champ. It's a match that we thought, like, I think is natural to get. I mean, here's a guy who's been talking crap about Danielson all this time and hasn't been able to do anything about it. And Danielson hasn't been able to do anything about him talking crap because he wasn't a wrestler. And now you have the two guys here, and then you're not going to have that moment. And you could have put the title in the line and gave Nigel a great, people would be invested in that. So I don't know what direction they're going in, but that was a chance.
I literally thought if they're going to have somebody win this, then maybe they'll give it to Nigel just because they're in the UK at some point because he's still in the match. And that didn't happen. So that that one was a little bizarre to me. I would have gone other ways with it. Okay. Then we had Will Ospreay and MJF. First of all, I was looking so forward to Will Ospreay's entrance, but then we had the November 15th tune-in to the movie. Is that what it was? There was
the
video game, right? So there was that, and then he came out, and that was exciting. And then MJF came out in his American entrance, which is funny and good. How did the match hold up to you in terms of compared to the one that you saw on TV? The one that was an hour.
I enjoyed this one as.
Go ahead.
What was that?
Go ahead.
What was that? Oh, but first the entrance of Will Ospreay though, that was so freaking cool. It made me, I was like, I want to see a Will Ospreay martial arts movie now because of everything that happened. I was like, this is cool. Great.
So cool.
And then MJF, the US already got booed earlier in the night because of Martha Hart. So, we already knew we were the heels going into this because of MJF and so but obviously both guys deliver on big shows. The streamers, though, very distracting.
Oh, that's what I wanted to talk about.
But
wait,
I think
I couldn't believe it. Like, get the streamers out of there. They were in the ring, hanging out. Like, who thought of this and didn't get them moved out?
That's one miss, I think, with the production crew. But live TV, not knowing. But still, I think with the streamers being there for this particular match, it actually played into MJF the over. What the United States is known for being these big boastful people and just so having that like there, I think fit well with MJF and what his presentation overall. But Yeah, the whole Tiger Driver story I think was really well done, and yeah, and I thought it was well put together, and I think for Will to have that moment, I think the right man went over there.
I was so impressed with both guys, just in the which I knew. Even MJF is such a great wrestler. Just the moves, the maneuver, they're all so solid and amazing. And I want to go back to the corkscrew thing. Also, I think is amazing by who is it? Who's in the
Pac?
first? Yes, Pac.
Yeah.
I wanted to comment on that earlier. That was amazing. But these moves are incredible. But let's talk about, we thought Adam Cole, it was Daniel Garcia who came back in the hood. I loved that. We did not think of that when we had our show the other night.
I thought, I didn't think they were going to go revisit that so quickly. But we have All In, we'll have All Out coming out. So that's a match you could just easily you could slide in there, Daniel Garcia versus MJF. And
do you see, wasn't there rumors that Daniel Garcia was done at AEW? That he was really going to WWE?
I mean, but then Tony Khan said on the conference call that he's, that he had been still signed, or that was Ricky Starks actually. But I think in the past, same thing. But it seems like Ricky Starks we're not sure about, but Daniel Garcia maybe has a little bit more time left. I'm not sure, but either way, like I said, like if you're going to continue building someone up, I don't see why you're worried about him going to another company. So that kind of sends me the message that he's sticking around for right now.
No, I thought it was great. We didn't predict that. I loved the surprise. I was like, oh my God, it's Daniel Garcia. I thought that was really great. No, I thought
it's actually, it makes total sense because if you remember, Daniel Garcia had challenged MJF for this show and wanting to have a match with him. And so MJF basically turning him down and turning this whole thing. And he's like, well, if you're not going to give me the match, I'm going to F you over on the show that you were supposed to wrestle me on. So I think it made total sense there.
Yeah, it was really good. Okay, we had Mercedes Moné and Britt Baker. First of all, best entrance of the night. The Corgis was hilarious. I absolutely loved it. I loved her. Mercedes' entrance was my favorite because of the detail. Like, to put the Corgis, which is like, the Queen had the Corgis, and the cape and riding in the carriage. I loved that. I just thought that was pretty brilliant. All those nods to England were great throughout. And I thought Mercedes wrestled an amazing match. And Britt was great too. What did you think of it?
Well, first of all, the entrance, you knew Mercedes was going to do something. She kind of hinted at it on her social media is what she was going to do. But I thought that was perfect. That was just what you need on a stadium show, just like this. Mixed feelings. I know they had a hard time with the placement of the match. You could tell the crowd wasn't as invested early on because of what, again, that's my argument always, because with these pre-shows, like having a 2-hour pre-show and all these matches beforehand, and then sitting through a 4-hour main show after a 2-hour pre-show, WWE learned its lesson from WrestleMania's past that it kind of kills the crowd a little bit. I mean, it kind of goes against, unless it's like something special like what we saw in the main event. But in this case, that I think that hurt them a little bit, is the crowd was a little quiet. I think at first they were trying to feel each other out, and I don't think it looked that good, like, to be honest. So I actually would like to see this story continue and having another match, because I think towards the end was great. And the whole thing with the Eddie Guerrero spot with Britt and that look she gave into the camera, I thought that was awesome. And but I think
when she went down to get Camille thrown out.
Yeah, and then Camille, exactly. I loved little things like that. I think the potential is there for them to have a good match. But for me, it wasn't as good as I think a match they can have. So I thought it was, towards the end, it kind of picked up, but that's the way I thought.
I think what I thought is that there were parts of there where I remembered why I loved Mercedes Moné as a wrestler, because there's some moves she did that I really liked. That's all I thought about that. The match wasn't as fluid as some of the other ones, and it felt a little slow and things like that. But I felt like for Mercedes, Britt, I just feel like hasn't been wrestling enough since her.
Yeah, she needs the more reps.
She needs
definitely.
more reps. Yeah, that's what I thought about that. And then I think I was so hoping that Jamie Hayter would show up or something from our, and I think that got ruined in the other thing. I kept saying, well, maybe she'll come out and help her.
I think we're gonna get that.
We're gonna get that.
Yeah, but maybe Saraya and Hayter for All Out first. We'll see. Or maybe they do a they put the tag team match together to set up for All Out on Dynamite, Collision, and all that coming up. So that's another match they can have easy.
Okay, now the next match in the Coffin match, you have to fill me in on something because I actually did get up and miss something. I had to get up for a minute, use the restroom, and grab something in the kitchen. So it was Jack Perry versus Darby Allin in a Coffin match. When I walked back into the room, I saw that he had tacks in his head, Darby. Did he fall into something or did he come out with the
No,
tax?
he came out like that, almost like Pinhead Hellraiser looked to me. But I was trying to think myself if at first I was like, wait, did he like purposely put him in the head? But I'm like, no, he like stuck them out so they come out. So when he uses them as weapons,
So
I
he
thought that was
walked
pretty
out
clever.
like that.
Yes.
I see. Okay. So I didn't get that part. So what did you think of this match?
It was what it was. I was expecting even more from Darby the way, how he does with pay-per-view. So I think I think they probably were like, okay, we have the main event. We want to end this after, at 4 hours. Yeah. So maybe they're starting to learn their lesson a little bit, but it was what it was. Like I thought Darby was a little subdued when it comes to like the big risks he takes, because you know how he is, like, and he's talking all these things, like, but for what it was, I thought it was okay. Again, I thought the Coffin match doesn't do anything for me here. But the visual, it was like a horror movie with him popping out of the body bag. Like that was really interesting. And one of the things I thought was interesting too, that it wasn't used, and I thought it was going to be used, was the glass faces with the flowers. And I thought it was a nice touch with the photos of them, like it was their funerals. So I thought that was a nice touch, but I was like, oh, they're going to use glass in that. But they ended up using glass in the actual ring. And then that reaction that they got, I'm sure Jack loved that, because I think it even took him by surprise, the reaction he got.
Definitely was taken by surprise because he reacted to it like,
shit. Yeah.
Like, well, thank you. Well, thank you.
Yeah. Like, and of course,
side over the glass, harkening back to the whole thing last year and everything else.
Yes. And then the call back to the retirement match with Sting coming back, saving Darby Allin. Crowd erupted, as you would think. It was such a cool moment to see that happen. Interesting enough, Sting's son, who's been training to wrestle, he was at the show, and he's been in London. So I actually thought he was the one that was going to save Darby. So the fact that Sting was there, I think what we're going to get, though, is Sting be a mentor to Darby and his son, and possibly a tag match against the Young Bucks. That's kind of my thought process now moving forward, is now Sting is going to be like the background, kind of the mentor to now a new generation with his son and Darby Allin. So that's what I think is going to happen.
I couldn't agree more. And as I've told everybody in the past, Sting's my all-time favorite wrestler, my all-time favorite. So to see him was so exciting, just him coming out. And I'm like, okay, he cannot be coming out of retirement. So it's got to be what you're saying. I definitely see him mentoring a tag team with his son. I thought his son was coming too. And when I first looked at it, I was like, is this his son? But then I looked at the face and I'm like, no, this is Sting. But I didn't love the match. I thought I loved the Jack Perry reactions and the CM Punk references, and the glass probably were the highlights of it, just seeing the crowd reacting that way. And then the chance that I'm sure AEW didn't want, or maybe they did want, the CM Punk that they wanted. And you know what I didn't like about it? The placement of it. I think it should have been on earlier. I just think I don't know why it was placed right before the big match. It just feels like I would have built up one more big match. It just felt like not a big enough match to me.
Yeah, I actually thought they were going to put the Britt Mercedes match before the main event. So I thought that was interesting that they didn't do that. And I thought they put the Toni Mariah match up pretty early in the show, which I didn't expect. But actually, in the long run, I think it worked out.
I think that was better to have it there.
Yeah. for
All
sure.
right, then we get Bryan Danielson versus Swerve Strickland. So we get this amazing opening for Bryan Danielson. And everybody's going, yes, yeah, they're all excited. We get the final countdown music. We get Brie Bella and the children at ringside, which I knew we were going to get. I saw Brie's interview. Didn't she do with the marvelous Renee Burkett? She did an interview. So I'm like, they're going to be there. And then we get Swerve's entrance. And I believe those are the guys that sing his song, right? That actually sang.
I'll go with you and accept that. I'm not sure.
Okay. So you can tell now from the thing that everyone is seemingly for Bryan Danielson. At first, I wasn't sure, but it was so I'm like, okay, I can't imagine they're going to have him lose in front of his children. I just could not see them doing that. But you and I had Swerve winning, did we not?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this. Like, I really wanted. Going in, I was like, okay, I want Swerve to win because he needs to solidify himself as the top guy and everything like that. But having Hangman involved and kind of being the thorn in his side and costing him the championship is very aligned with the story being told between Drew and CM Punk. I'm seeing a similar kind of pattern here with the two of them. And I love I love this rivalry, and I think this adds more fuel to the fire that Hangman didn't cost him the match, but it kind of maybe he did, and he'll see it like that. And because he didn't lose because of Hangman, but maybe he did because he played, a role in that early on, and that kind of threw him off mentally.
Right.
But when I saw the reaction and I saw the match and I see the story that they're being told, I'm actually happy that Bryan actually won that. I'm not sure where they're going to go with it, if they're going to have a tournament, if he's going to have this title run and then he's going to walk off. I'm not sure what they're going to do here, but seeing his family in the ring and, what happened in the match, and now with Hangman involved, they don't actually need a title to fight over to have this rivalry. But are they going to have a tournament? Are they going to, whatever it is, I don't know. But I just thought it was perfect. And the fireworks, all that stuff, all the emotional moments. And then especially with, like, when you saw earlier in the match, like, Swerve was going like full on heel with the kids and things. I just think back, I'm like, did the family, Danielson family, like, meet Swerve and like, listen, I'm going to come to, like, tell them ahead of time, tell the kids ahead of time, this is what's going to happen. And then I don't know if then Birdie's going to be like, crying on command, or if she really was feeling this way, or what was happening. If she did meet him, I don't know how they did it, but I thought that was extra layer of storytelling. Like, the poor kids being traumatized by seeing Daddy get beaten up, and then when he started getting doing well, they started cheering.
Couldn't believe when they put the bell and he clunked his head on it. I did not expect Prince Nana to go that low. I've never seen.
Yeah.
No, I've never seen those guys be that nasty. Like, that
shows
was
how desperate they were to retain the title.
Right. And when he cracked his head, I'm like, well, he cracked the back of his head, but of course they made it the front of his head, so he's bleeding. So now you've got the picture of this guy, and it was a little bit, over the top, but oh, I love you, family, as he's like pleading, but they were telling a great story. This was good storytelling. Like, I love you, as he's getting killed in the ring. I love you. I love you, kids. And then he's, and he's going down again, and Swerve is kicking him again in the head. But I love you. There was all that. And then I was with you too. I'm like, so did they go to the kids and say, your dad's going to be bleeding like a mess, so don't get scared? Because
yeah,
it is hysterical as some of the other kids I've seen in matches when their dad's getting beat up.
Yeah, like the Beyond the Mat, I think about with Mick Foley and the family watching that at the Royal Rumble. That's what I look back to all the time. I see those visuals.
But it was a really great payoff to leave you after your investment 4 hours or 6 hours, right? You left going, oh, and the fireworks, and you felt like you watched a spectacle and a story come full circle, and you left with a satisfying ending. And I think that's a great show. You're leaving people going home in a way, like, with something. It's either got to be, I'm so mad, but I don't think you want to do that. I think it's like, oh, this is great.
Show,
yeah, this kind of show. So I don't know where they're going to go with this Bryan Danielson title run. I hope it's not going to be long. It might be. I
It
mean,
might not be at all. It might just be like, okay, I'm
gonna drop the title now.
I'm gonna go home to my kids. I'm gonna go home to my family.
But I'm assuming they're gonna do Christian Cage versus Bryan Danielson.
And then Christian wins.
No,
I don't know. So yeah, I don't know. I wasn't planning for Bryan to win, to be honest.
I wasn't either. I was hoping. I wasn't either. I was like, Swerve has been so great to have a black champion, which was a first, was it not?
Well, he's also the first to headline a Wembley show, which there's not a lot of Wembley shows. So when they made that fact, I was like, okay. Still really cool though. But
it's really great. I just think it was great to have Swerve as a champ. Yeah. And I just didn't want I wanted him to go a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So
but I was totally okay with them going in this direction because I just thought the story was great. But where are they going to go from here? I'm not sure. It's up to them. We'll see what happens. And one thing we didn't touch on is they made a lot of announcements, but they did not make the announcement of their TV deal. But they made a lot of announcements for 2025 to get people excited. And, it's interesting enough that they're doing another stadium show, this time in Australia. So that was announced, Grand Slam. I think it's in February. And then they already have All In planned for next year and in Texas. So they have some big plans. So we'll see. It's interesting with attendance being as low as it is stateside that they're kind of have all these plans right now. So we'll see how it happens.
I know we don't know about the TV deal, but Tony Khan keeps saying in the media scrums that the media calls that things are good, right? Doesn't he keep indicating that everything's
I mean, he's
good?
not going to say they're not, but
I know.
You know what? We're crap right now, guys. We need to get our tickets.
Watching. Right.
Please watch our show, please.
Please. I'm sure there's a 2-hour media scrum we're missing, but you can watch it when we're done. But as we leave, Scott, what's your overall grade for All In 2024? What are you giving it?
I actually really enjoyed it, so I'm gonna give it an A. Like I asked myself, okay, what I wanted to deliver? Yes. So that's what my barometer right now is, and I had a fun. The show, was long, but I was entertained throughout. I thought the pacing and the storytelling was great. So the question is, well, how is this going to lead into the pay-per-view? Some of the other things, but as a sole show, another solid effort here.
I agree. I gave it an A. I thought it was a great show. I was entertained. Like I said, I thought the production level was better at a lot of things. I thought that the matches told complete stories most of the time. And I thought the wrestling was great. And I really, really enjoyed it. I think this is one of their best pay-per-views ever. I thought. Do you not agree?
They always deliver on pay-per-view, so that's nothing new for me. But from top to bottom, I think from presentation and the camera angles, like the one that they had with Swerve and Danielson, where he's like getting ready to hit him from behind, I thought that was some masterful camera work. So I think they're getting there. They're learning from the production side of what works and what they want to do, and they're trying different things. And so some people are down on them, but they're taking steps forward in some departments here. So we really want them to do well and really take advantage of this opportunity, which I hope they do. But unfortunately, we have another unfortunately, because it's a challenge that you're going to have another show coming up and trying to get people invested in it. So that's going to be interesting. And then the TV deal is going to be, I just want it to be announced already because I'm tired of people, like everyone's speculating and all this stuff. I just want to come out.
The numbers.
Everyone's focusing on it, whether you love AEW or don't. You keep talking about it. So I just put it out there, kind of thing.
But when does the deal officially end that they're on?
The end of the year. So we're almost in September here. So they got to announce something soon.
I wonder if there'll still be 3 shows: Collision, Rampage, and Dynamite. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. Lots of questions.
All right. Well, I think it was a really good show. I will interesting to see the fall. They literally have 2 weeks before All Out. So we'll have to see what happens. All right. Have a great rest of your Sunday. Thanks everyone for joining us. Drop a comment below if you enjoy the show. And I'll talk to you soon, Scott.
All right.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.